This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some major update to share with you. As gas prices are falling, voters are saying they're still not feeling the relief, which brings the question, what is going on with those gas stimulus checks? I'll give you the latest on that. Speaking of gas and oil, President Biden returns from Saudi Arabia with not the most favorable outcome. I'll give you more details on that. And as the Build Back Better was crushed again by Joe Manchin, President Biden is saying, all right, now just pass the drug pricing bill, and President Biden will do executive actions with climate and maybe a few other things. Also, I'll give you the latest on what's going on with stimulus checks and a few other important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 checks to my subscribers again. More details later on in the video, but first, White House sidelined as Manchin again crushes Biden's policy ambitions. So, looks like Joe Manchin strikes again, but it's not any surprise to me, and hopefully anybody else kind of thought this was going to happen anyway. And Biden to Senate pass the health bill, and it'll tackle climate through executive action. So basically, I guess whatever was being spoken about, supposed to have originally had a bunch of stimulus provisions, but I guess over the weeks, over months and weeks, it just got whittled down to, I guess, maybe now it's just climate and drug pricing bill. So what was said here is, after decades of fierce opposition from powerful special interests, Democrats have come together, beaten back the pharmaceutical industry, and are prepared to give Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices and to prevent an increase in health insurance premiums for millions of Americans with coverage under the Affordable Care Act. This is what President Biden said. And the Senate should move forward, pass it before the August recess, and get it to my desk and so I could sign it. Then he goes on to say, action on climate change and clean energy remains more urgent than ever. So let me be clear, if the Senate will not move to tackle the climate crisis and strengthen our domestic clean energy industry, I will take strong executive action to meet this moment. So it looks like President Biden could take executive action for climate, clean energy, but counting on the Democrats in the Senate to do the healthcare bill, which would lower the price of drugs. So we'll see if that actually happens. So, August recess is just in a couple of weeks, so we'll see if that could actually happen. We're not really hearing much interviews, no video clips from the Democrats. Looks like they're probably scrambling a lot behind closed doors. But take a look at the Republican perspective of what's going on with this big bill and the Democrats.
Joining me right now is a member of the Senate Appropriations and Foreign Relations Committees, Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty. Senator, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here.
Likewise, Maria. It's always good to be with you.
So what is going on in the Senate there? Do you believe that Chuck Schumer is going to put this to bed finally, or is he still trying to push through the climate agenda? And how high does he want taxes to go? Manchin pretty much said no, but will he take no for an answer?
Well, it's amazing how the far left of the Democrat Party continues to push us toward the cliff of a recession. And Chuck Schumer seems to be completely tone deaf in this regard. The consumer price index that came out 9.1% this week. I mean, inflation is out of control right now, and it's accelerating, Maria. And then if you think about where we are in terms of our economy, we're at the precipice of a recession, and this package would have just done everything to push it over. Thankfully, Joe Manchin has been, sober enough within the Democrat Party to say, look, we've got to step back. This will be suicidal. Does that mean that Chuck Schumer will stop? Probably not, but they're going to have to trim it down. They're going to have to find something that Senator Manchin will agree to. But the last thing you would do, Maria, as you head into a recession, when the economy is in this bad a shape, raise taxes on job creators. And certainly, we don't need to see any more of this green new energy investment going on, and more regulations that are constraining oil supply and making our economy far, far worse. The pain at the pump is enormous.
At a time that the economy is slowing, the last thing people want is higher taxes. How significant are those tax increases? And the reconciliation opportunity goes until September 30th. Do you think they'll be able to do something?
Well, they're going to have to completely recalibrate because Joe Manchin has taken the big chunk out of this package that they wanted to shove through, particularly how they're going to pay for it. Again, their desire to pay for it is to lump more taxes on the backs of Americans, on corporations. Who do they think pays these taxes? It's more higher prices, more inflation that they're going to precipitate through all of this. Less investment is going to occur as well. So the supply chain problems we're experiencing are not going to be addressed. It's extremely troubling that they are so detached from reality as they continue to push this stuff forward. It's a blessing, I think, that if we can get this proposal to raise taxes off the table right now, if we can actually begin to refocus on what's driving the inflation, which largely has to do with constraining the supply of oil and gas. But I tell you, I was very disappointed this week. I had Interior Secretary Deb Haaland in front of me, and the new Consumer Price Index numbers just came out, 9.1%. I asked her at what point, how high do gas prices have to get? How much pain does the American public have to feel before they will take their foot off the throat of the oil and gas industry here in America and begin to allow capacity to expand, to begin to give us some relief? She would not commit at any level to do that. Again, the administration here is completely out to lunch.
Well, let me ask you, because you're on the Appropriations Committee, and I want to understand how much of the COVID relief package has actually been appropriated. Because one member of the budget on the House side told me that the fact is hundreds of billions of dollars have gone to the states, and they haven't even sent that money out. So that led him to believe inflation will stay elevated, and we're not seeing a peak. I know we may see a lower number in July because energy prices have come off of the highs, but has inflation peaked based on what you know about appropriations?
Maria, you are very perceptive to focus on this because you're exactly right. There's inflation baked into the pipeline because these state and local governments have not yet deployed the funds, the massive amount of funds that have been shoved into their coffers. Again, this all started back in March of 2021 with the Biden administration and the Democrats on a wholly partisan basis shoved through this massive $2 trillion package. And there is still a great deal of inflation baked in because of the money that still lies in the coffers of these state and local governments that has not yet been put into the economy. When it does come in, it can only do one thing: more upward pressure on prices, more inflation.
So Republicans happy so far that the Build Back Better is not going through, and they're praising Joe Manchin, complete opposite for the Democratic side. But let me know your thoughts on that. And let's talk about gas. So as gas prices are falling, but voters say they aren't feeling the relief. So although gas prices are going down, I do see it. I guess people are still not happy enough because it's still really high. Even though the prices have gone down a little bit, the prices are much higher than they were a year ago. So what's going on with gas stimulus checks and things like that? So gas stimulus checks, how much is being proposed, and will Americans ever get money? So when it comes to gas stimulus checks, we might have seen the peak of gas. It could slowly trickle down. It could go back up. But in terms of legislation to ease costs, two California Democrats, Ro Khanna and Sheldon Whitehouse, have proposed big oil windfall profit tax in a stated effort to reduce gas prices further. Under the legislation, large oil companies like ExxonMobil would ostensibly pay a per barrel tax equal to 50% of the difference between the current price per barrel and the pre-pandemic average price per barrel between 2015 and 2019. Basically, what that would equal out to is it would give single filers $240 per year and joint filers about $360 a year annually, assuming that gas prices are high and the oil companies are still making a lot of money. So $240 to $360 per year. Let me know, is that enough? Could that help out with gas? We've seen a push for the gas tax holiday. That basically went nowhere on a federal level. Seeing sort of, I don't know if they have that anymore on the state level, but states were pushing that when gas was a lot higher. Not going to see that as much anymore now that gas prices are going down. And then another $100 per month gas stimulus check as well. These are in Congress. Seems to be slow, though, moving, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. But in terms of the bigger picture, President Biden pledges U.S. will not walk away from Middle East partnership. Saudi Arabia commits to produce more oil. So President Biden just got back from his trip. This is the fist bump seen around the world with the Prince of Saudi Arabia. Basically, in other words, President Biden going to Saudi Arabia to see if he could try to get some deals on gas there. I guess there were three options. There was Iran, Venezuela, and Saudi Arabia. And I guess Saudi Arabia was the best of the worst evils, I guess you could say, as some would say. So President Biden came back, and if you're wondering what came out of that trip, take a look at this video clip right here.
President Biden is heading home amid the fallout from his controversial trip to Saudi Arabia and that friendly fist bump with the Saudi crown prince, a country he once said he wanted to make a pariah, now at the center of the president's efforts to shore up global oil markets. Today, the White House now defending the trip and the president's meeting. President Biden seen leaving Jeddah late today, concluding his first Mideast trip as president, which was meant to reset the strained relations between the U.S. and its one-time top ally in the Arab world. The Saudis eager to release this image for the world to see, that highly choreographed fist bump. U.S. intelligence officials say Mohammed bin Salman approved the brutal killing of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018. President Biden saying he called out the crown prince on the murder and human rights and pushed the Saudis to increase oil production. Tonight, where that effort stands and what it could mean for gas prices here at home. ABC's Mary Bruce leads us off tonight from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
President Biden tonight making his way back home, but his controversial visit still sending shockwaves. Biden's facing blowback for that fist bump seen around the world. The highly choreographed greeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the man the U.S. concluded approved of the brutal killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. After Biden as a candidate vowed to punish Saudi Arabia, the kingdom was eager to share these images of their warm welcome. Tonight, the White House is defending the trip, with pressing spokesman John Kirby.
But was it worth it?
Think about so many national interests here in this region. You're not going to advance those interests if you just stay at home and try to phone it in. You have to actually go and speak to leaders and be on the ground to try to make a difference.
The president says he brought up Khashoggi at the very top of the meeting.
I said very straightforwardly, for an American president to be silent on an issue of human rights, is this inconsistent with who we are and who I am?
But Khashoggi's fiancée tweeting, the blood of MBS's next victim is on your hands.
I'm sorry she feels that way. I was straightforward back then. I was straightforward today.
Biden knew he would be criticized for the trip, but it was a risk he was willing to take to try in part to lower gas prices at home.
I'm doing all I can to increase the supply for the United States of America, which I expect to happen.
But he left Saudi Arabia with no concrete announcement or pledge to boost supply.
Is it possible we could see an announcement that more oil might be flowing to the U.S. in the next couple months, weeks?
Saudi Arabia has a policy of maintaining stability in oil markets. Saudi Arabia has a policy of working to ensure adequate supplies of crude oil in the oil markets. We do that.
So let's get right to Mary Bruce joining us from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And Mary, we did not get specifics from the president, but when could Americans actually expect to see any real impact from this controversial visit?
Well, the president says Americans could see an impact in the coming weeks. Now, nothing has been announced yet, but Saudi Arabia and other oil-producing nations are set to meet in early August and could potentially announce a boost in production. Whit?
So in terms of the trip yielding lower gas prices or more energy security or oil for the long term, we don't know the exact details. Maybe those discussions were spoken about behind closed doors and not revealed to the public. But it doesn't seem like it was the most favorable outcome, especially with all the humanitarian stuff going on the side of it too. So when it comes to lower gas, I don't know, we're going to have to wait and see. I don't think Saudi Arabia was a short-term solution anyway, but let me know your thoughts on that. 19% of people think universal basic income would alleviate work frustration. Here's what experts say. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think universal basic income, basically getting a monthly check of anywhere from $500 to $1,000, is that a good idea for everybody? No, it doesn't need to be paid back, no qualifications. So basically what it's saying here, UBI studies found that full-time employment increased. So basically, once the essentials were covered, let's say like shelter, food, and water, utilities, once those things were covered, it seems that people were able to, I guess, not be in as much debt, and they could get a job and, I guess, less stressed and things like that. What they're saying here is it just gave people some flexibility. So if they were working 2 part-time jobs, they could cut back, which gave them time to look for a better job. So basically, that's what they're saying. The benefits were of universal basic income, also known as guaranteed income. And also the most similar thing we have, or what they're saying now is the most closest thing we have now is the child tax credit, or was the child tax credit of last year, whereas on a monthly basis. As of now, not really the case. Universal basic income programs are going on all over the country, basically on a city level, not so much on a state level, but just on a city level. Speaking of cities and states with the most universal basic income and stimulus checks, California stimulus checks 2022, who's eligible and when will the money go out? So these are the latest stimulus checks. I think it's the 3rd round of stimulus checks going out. So there were some other more proposals, like $400 per vehicle. That didn't go anywhere in California, but the latest is going to give out $350 to anybody who makes less than $75,000. For couples, it'll be $700, and then for a dependent, an extra $350 for that. Just for one dependent, you can't get more. For a maximum of $1,050 going out in California. Huge checks there, a lot of money. They have surplus. They have everything in California, including high taxes. But that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella's tip of the day, and what I want to tell you is always stay happy. Always be glad for your family, because your family is the ones who made you and made you. So everybody, hope you have a good July 4th. Bye! Now?
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. As you can tell, my voice is a little off, coughing a little bit, but feeling good overall. Also, don't forget, $200 checks. I will be announcing all the details in tomorrow's video. So if you want to potentially win a $200 check for being my subscriber, tomorrow's video, I'll give you all the details on that, just to show you a thank you for being a part of the Wise Flies community and helping all this grow. I love spending time with you. Hopefully you feel the same way about me. But yeah, anyways, if you want to check out any of my other videos, my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.